NBA Finals Game 4, and we also have the Euros in today's video. But first, let's recap last night's picks. We almost hit on this WNBA. I went for Natasha Cloud stacked with Copper. That cashed very nicely, but the stack on Howard and Parker did not cash. Of course, Parker actually cleared her line quite nicely here with 8 more points than we expected. So unfortunately, we got the 3 out of 4 on that one. The NHL one definitely went worse. Honestly, this Edmonton team has been so unimpressive. If you guys don't watch hockey, they're basically playing as bad as the Mavericks. It's super unfortunate. Connor McDavid got his 2 points. Draisaitl was nowhere to be found. Lundell only got 1 out of his 1.5 shots on goal. And there was no goal in that first 10 minutes. It happened like only 19 minutes into the game. Hopefully Edmonton does not get swept, but it's not looking good for them. Congrats to all those Florida Panther fans if you're out there watching this video. So get onto the board now. I'm going to go over some of these popular props and the star props, right? These star props are going to be Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum. You want to be putting these in as many entries as possible, because you're going to get that 10% boost, and it's going to help you out while these NBA finals still exist. Hopefully the Mavericks actually pull through tonight, because the longer the series is, the more money we can make, because these star props are very, very good for us. So of course you're going to play Tatum and Kyrie, and I'm going to be going over my favorite props for these two players. But first I just want to talk about these two popular props here, Jaylen Brown and Doncic. Honestly, I don't think either of these are good on the over or the under. I'll show you what I mean by that. If we go over to Pinnacle, for example, and type in Jaylen Brown, you're going to see he actually has slight juice towards the under. Minus 112 on the over, minus 118 on the under. So the under is actually favored here, but it's not favored enough to actually grab the under. I would just overall avoid Jaylen Brown points, and same thing for Doncic. You can see minus 114 on the over, minus 115 on the under. Another 50-50 prop, so honestly, you're not getting an edge if you're grabbing the over or the under. Another prop to avoid. So that being said, let's talk about Kyrie and Tatum. This 25 points prop, I did like it when it was at 24.5. I actually did hammer the over at the 24.5 with my Discord. At 25, I will not take the over on this prop anymore. The correct play would actually be the under, but honestly, that's not that good of a prop. I'll show you one that's better on Kyrie's under in a bit. So another prop that you should probably avoid if you have not already locked this in, you're too late to the party. Same thing for Jason Tatum points. I'm not liking this one either. It's nothing crazy. If we go over to Pinnacle once again and look at his points prop, you're going to see minus 122 juice towards the under, minus 108 on the over. The under is actually the correct play, but again, it's not that great of a play. I wouldn't really go with this one. I'm just showing you these guys because they are popular picks, and I'm sure some of you are already on these. So I'm just going over these popular props to tell you that there's not really any value in them. So we'll start where I actually do see some value for Kyrie to start. We're going to go with his under 2.5 3-points made and his under offensive rebounds. I'm going to talk about each of these in a bit. So let's start with his under 3 points made. I did take it last game. Of course, did not cash. He shot 4 of 6 of his threes. So pretty good shooting splits there. He did miss it in the first 2 games. So let's just look at props.cash to take a deeper look. If we scroll down to his 3 points made, he did shoot 4 of 6, as I just said. But if you note, he only shot 6 shots. And this is exactly what I went over last video. He has not been shooting that much from beyond the arc. He had the best game of his series last game, where he dropped 35 points, yet he only shot 6 3-pointers. So his volume's kind of low, and he did shoot very well. Which you can see in the first 2 games, he shot a total of 8 3-pointers across those 2 games, and he got a whopping 0, right? Yes, he heated up last game, and he did get that 4 out of 6, but I still think there's value on the under 2.5 3-points made. If we see what the sportsbooks are pricing him at, you see FanDuel has juice towards the under, minus 118. DraftKings minus 115 on the under, Caesars minus 123 on the under, and BetMGM with juice towards the under. If we go over to Pinnacle, which is even better than all those sports books, we go to Kyrie Irving, 3 points made, minus 126 juice on the under. So I think this is a good shout. And again, because he's a star player, I think it's an even better play. The second prop, you're not going to find juice for it. It doesn't exist on any other sports book, so I can't really compare lines. But what I am talking about is the offensive rebound, and I'm going with the under. I took it last game, it did cash, and you could see all 3 games of this Boston series, it did cash. If you look at his past 10, he did cash it 5 out of 10 times. He was definitely getting them versus Minnesota, got them in 4 out of the 5 games. Versus Boston, he has slowed down. He has not gotten 1 offensive rebound in the 3 games. And if we go over to his overall rebounds, you'll see they're a bit lower on average compared to the Minnesota series, where he was getting 5, 4, 4 over here. He has not cleared that 4 mark on his general rebounds prop in this series yet. So I don't think the under half a rebound is a crazy shout. Obviously, it could chalk within the very first minute, because you're going to be sweating out this under for the whole game. So if you don't like that, don't take it. But I still think it's worth it with that 10% star boost. If there was no boost, I definitely wouldn't take this prop. But with the boost, you want to be throwing Kyrie into as many entries as possible. So I definitely think this is a decent prop to throw in there. Moving on to Tatum, there's not too much I like for Tatum either, but we're going to go with his over 9.5 rebounds. Another prop that I've been taking throughout the series. He cashed in game 1, hooked it in game 2, and did not really come close in game 3. But the juice is still favored towards the over. Again, we could go to Pinnacle and check Tatum's prop. Nothing too impressive, minus 123 for the over, but it is better than his points prop. It's better than his assist prop, because if you go and compare it to multiple sports books on Tatum, you're going to see some heavy juice towards his over rebounds. FanDuel doesn't have too much juice towards the over, but DraftKings has minus 130 towards the over, Caesars minus 142, and BetMGM towards the over at minus 135. To compare that to his assist line, that's kind of flat here. No one's really thinking that he's going to go over. The only one that really has him favored toward the over is Pinnacle, as I just showed you on the other screen. Go over his points, similar concept, not too much juice towards the under. BetMGM actually has juice towards the over. So I think the best play of the points, rebounds, and assists is actually his rebounds on the over 9.5. Another decent shout would be his steals and blocks on the over. Slight juice towards the over here on BetMGM and Caesars. And if we go to Bet365, you'll see juice towards the over at minus 125. So those would be my two props for Tatum. Over 9.5 boards and the 1.5 steals and blocks on the over. Again, these are both props we took last game. They both missed last time. So these are 4 NBA props that I'm liking. I'm going to put 2 of these in 2 formats that I'm about to create using soccer. In last night's video, I did ask if any of you wanted to see picks for soccer, and you guys said yes for the Euros. So I might not be going over it every day, but I'll definitely be putting some soccer picks within the videos. And honestly, whether you like soccer or not, or care about the Euros, there is some value to be had in the soccer tab. So I'm going to be showing you the best things to do. And honestly, through the whole Euros, you want to be in this passes attempted prop, because this is basically the most correlated thing you could take in soccer. You want to be grabbing players from the same team on their over passes attempted. We got Rudiger and Toni Kroos, for example, both playing for Germany. You would want to grab the double over or the double under. And you could already see there's a payout shift because Prizepicks knows this is correlated. So I'm not just making this up. And obviously, if you know anything about soccer, passes are going to be very correlated because it relies on possession and it relies on guys playing in triangles and squares and just moving the ball around within their specific quadrants. Now, usually they only give us like 1 or 2 passes attempted props. This time they're actually giving us 4. So I'm going to tell you what are the best ones I'm going with for Germany. And honestly, it's just going to be Toni Kroos and Rudiger. There's Gundogan and Kimmich that I'm not really liking, because you could actually check the expected lineup, and Gundogan is expected to be at that cam position. I'm not really liking his correlation with the other players on the pitch. It makes less sense to take something like Kimmich and Gundogan because they're so far from each other on the field. You really want to be taking players in either the square or the triangle formation like this. So you could go Rudiger and Kimmich. You could also go Rudiger and Toni Kroos, because these guys are going to be passing quite often to each other. I guess it could make sense to take Gundogan with Toni Kroos. But when I'm taking passes, I prefer to take the defenders or the central midfielders. And in this case, I'm going to be going with Rudiger and Toni Kroos. Again, they're going to be playing in these triangles. They're going to be playing in these squares. So that is the 2 players I'm going for. But also, these guys do have the lowest passes attempted line if you compare them to the sportsbook. So if you go over to Rudiger and check his passes, he's set all the way up at 91.5 on Bet365. We're getting him at 83.5 passes attempted on Prizepicks. For Toni Kroos, we're not getting any value, at least compared to a sportsbook. He's set at 96.5. But if I show you the other 2 players, we're also not getting value on them. So Gundogan, for example, we're getting him at 41.5. He's 41.5 on Prizepicks. And I guess I am mistaken, because I just checked Kimmich. He's set at 72.5 on Bet365, 66.5 on Prizepicks. I'm not sure if he got bumped or if I just misread something, but I think this actually might be the better play then, because we are getting 6 passes of value, which is quite a bit of passes compared to the sportsbook. So instead of Kroos and Rudiger, you could go Rudiger and Kimmich, and I don't mind that either, because again, I like to get these guys in triangles, and that's exactly what you have. Rudiger and Kimmich, they're playing next to each other, right center back and a right back, which is fine with me. When they're playing down the right side of the pitch, they're going to be getting those passes together. That being said, honestly, they're all very correlated, so it doesn't really matter which combos you're going with. You could go Kroos Gundogan, you could go Rudiger Kimmich, you could also go Rudiger Kroos. Make sure you're actually checking the lineup and seeing where these guys are situated. So technically, you could make another slip with Kroos and Gundogan on their overs. So on top of the fact that, of course, we're getting some passes of value on these plays, Germany is expected to win this game very easily. You see there's minus 400 odds to win, which is basically like 80% chance that they win this game. Of course, the winning team is always going to be more dominant. They're going to be getting more passes, and they're going to control the game more. Possession, right? Possession matters the most in soccer. And when you have possession, you have a lot of passes. So that's why this is also a good play on the overs. Now, unfortunately, I can't stack all 4 of these guys because there's going to be a nerf. So that's why I'm only going with 2 of these guys and kind of thinking, what is the best combination here. So Rudiger and Kimmich is what I'm going to go with. Now we're going over to NBA and take one of the props I was talking about. That's going to be Kyrie on his under half a rebound. And we could end the slip off with just a general positive EV pick. So I'm using my OddsJuice dashboard here. We got Louis on his under 6.5 pitcher strikeouts. Now, these guys might get bumped as you're watching this video later. Hopefully they don't, but in the comments, I'm going to leave some replacement props for you guys to use if these guys do get bumped, because this is a great pick. Obviously, there's about a 55.36% chance that he goes under, so I wouldn't be surprised if they bump him to 6.0 strikeouts. If that happens, again, use the replacements that I put in the comments. This is going to be the first slip, and it's beautiful, right? Because we're getting that 11x payout, because we're throwing in Kyrie under on the offensive rebounds. Now, the second slip is also going to be correlated, but we're going over to the goalie saves and grabbing the Scotland goalie on his over 3.5 goalie saves. And of course, if someone is saving the ball, there has to be someone shooting the ball. We're going to go with the Germany striker. That's going to be Kai Havertz on his over 2.5 shots. If Kai Havertz is clearing his over 2.5 shots line, it's more likely Gunn is getting those goalie saves. Assuming somebody's are on target and assuming Germany is shooting a lot, which they definitely do. I wouldn't be surprised if they get like 20 shots tonight. They also expected about 6.5 shots on target. Of course, some of those are going to be a goal, but assuming they get 7 shots on target, I could see 4 saves for the keeper and then 3 goals for Germany. So that's most likely what's going to happen. Kai Havertz is going to be getting some of those shots. And of course, Kai Havertz playing at the striker position. Again, you could see in the expected lineup, he is that top man that technically should be getting the most shots. You could expect him to clear that line if the goalie is getting his over saves. So these two should cash together, but you could actually check the juice on both these players too. We're getting good value on both of them. If you go over to the goalkeeper saves, this is a one-sided line, yes, but you can see minus 200 on his over 3.5. Unfortunately, there's no under, so you can't like technically devig it. It's kind of cheap that the sportsbook only allows you to bet on a one side, so it's not exactly completely accurate. But his 4.5 is set at plus 110. But his 4.5 is set at plus 110, and honestly, you could tell this is a good prop on his over 3.5. If we go over to shots prop, these actually are a two-sided market for the Euros, and you can see minus 138 juice on the over, plus 100 on the under, so definitely a good prop, and it's very correlated with Angus Gunn. My favorite prop for Tatum was the over 9.5 rebounds, so let's go and throw that one in. And then we're going to go back to the MLB and just grab another positive EV pick. We got Chris on his under 7.5 pitcher strikeouts, 54.75% likeness that this one goes under. That is going to be the full 2 slips for today. Like I said, any bumps, check the comments.